Okay, welcome to the next episode of Let's Know Buffalo. Today our guest is Tony Galbo from the Galbo Group. Welcome.
Thank you. Thanks for having me. Appreciate it. Being here.
Why don't you talk a little bit about what the Galbo Group is? And you're in construction, you do some real estate, you've got your hands in some other businesses. Why don't you start, tell us about your business?
All right. So Galbo Group, our main focus is masonry and masonry restoration. So we focus on restoring buildings, I guess you could say, around the city of Buffalo, in the suburbs, but we also will do a new build also. And that's from the ground up, if it's block, brick, or stonework. So best of both worlds, not only restoring buildings, but also building from ground up.
So what's the biggest project you've worked on? I've seen you work, I've seen some stuff online. You've done some monster.
I would probably say Seneca 1, Douglas Jamal building downtown. Obviously, he acquired that years ago, and he turned it around. He's doing great things for the city, and we've did all that thin brick. So when you drive by there or see from the expressway, all that black shiny brick, that was done by our company.
I can't believe that building sat vacant for as long as it did.
It's crazy.
It's insane.
What potential it had, and now you could see it.
Now look at it. Yeah,
exactly.
It's like a little city. I mean, Buffalo's a small. It's New York City and Chicago, but to have that in there, I've been in there so many times, and I still haven't seen
right. And I'm glad we're seeing it now. I mean, it's finally being revamped.
Yeah, and the dude's going to make, I mean, at the end of the day, so much money off of what he's already done.
Correct. And the 2 clubhouses out front, we did all that stone also. So that's kind of our big project. When people ask, hey, what do you do? Look at Seneca 1.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's a good example.
How did you get into that business? Masonry.
So my background growing up was a ceramic tile company. My dad and grandfather owned a union company that did all the schoolwork, from ceramic tile, marble to terrazzo. So I was always in the construction
field.
Here
in Buffalo?
Right here in Buffalo. And then from there, I actually moved away for a while. I moved away for about 8 years. I was in Atlanta, Georgia, and then New York City, and then moved back home. Unfortunately, my dad got diagnosed with Parkinson's, moved home. Home's where the heart is.
Yeah.
So moved home and actually got in a masonry restoration business with my brother-in-law. So he became my partner. And we had a small union company for about 4 years, and he stayed with that company, and I just wanted bigger things.
Right.
I had bigger goals and dreams, and nothing against him. He stayed small, and it's working out great. He's best friends with me to this day, but I just wanted bigger things, and now we have about 50 employees.
Wow.
And
I'll tell you, that's the one thing about partners. It's so tough, right? I've had partners before in real estate, in my retail stores, and everything's good until it's not, right? And not that it's not good, but your partner has one vision, you have another, and it's like, well, how do we bring those together?
Yeah.
And I was told not to get into business with family and not to get into business with friends, and I'm like, well, the fuck am I going to get into business with, right? Just some Joe Schmo off the street. So that's interesting. Yeah, partnerships they're tough, but you went on your own way and doing your own thing.
yeah, and he's my brother-in-law, obviously married to my sister, so it works out. Yeah.
That's good, because it could have went.
Exactly.
Could have went. Yeah.
Exactly.
My brother's a type B personality. He's very good with his hands, and so he's my little brother, and he's always worked for me. And he's gonna hate to hear this, but man, I'll tell you the battles we've had at work, and it's like, dude, from fucking 9 to 5, you're my employee, right? You can't talk shit like that in front of everybody else, because then
He's working for you.
yeah, they lose respect. After 5 o'clock, you wanna say what you gotta say, like, let's go. Man, there's some days we lock the doors and went at it.
You have to. Yeah, but at the end of the day, you love him, right?
Yeah,
exactly.
He's been fired several times and rehired, and
Yeah, of course.
but it's good. I try to take care of him. He does a lot for me.
I heard Gary Keller once say that one of the issues with partnerships is you put an agreement together, but what they don't do is a disagreement. Like going into a partnership, having a clear, okay, if things don't work, this is how we're going to split this up. And I thought that was just really interesting, because you hear it all the time with people who that build a company together. And like you said, it's not even anything malicious. It's just they have different visions.
Mm-hmm.
And then the fight to move on from there is so brutal, because it was never even discussed. I tell clients who are buying a house together, especially if they're not married, I say, we talk about resale. What if you have to sell this? And they're like, we're in our forever home. And I'll be like, well, nobody plans on getting divorced. It does happen to a lot of people. You don't plan on
My wife and I, we bought a house together, but she's 7 years younger than me. So we were different places. She's 25. I'm 32 buying our forever house, right? And we're not married yet. We're not even engaged. So she's freaking out like, well, if I'm going to pay half of everything, like I want half of everything on the other end, right? So we had an agreement drawn up from an attorney that if we ever parted ways, that she would get her cut of the house, and I agreed to.
Yeah. Right. No, that makes
So,
sense, though.
Yeah. So I guess when you transitioned off onto your own, like maybe talk about what brought that on, or what struggles you had, or why did you do that when you say you wanted different things?
I think because we were in the field, actually. So we were physically doing the work, and I like people, more business development, more sales, more chasing the deal, and I wanted to grow the company that way. So I think that was just a different mindset, basically. That was about it. So I went a different direction. I actually got into the GC world, okay, the general contracting world.
Yep.
Goal of mine to be a big general contractor. Thought it was easy, or I guess you could say easier than maybe being a sub, pushing paper, having a superintendent, project manager. And that's where I got hurt in business. I went way too quick, too soon, and had millions of dollars worth of work. I really did. But the bids were pretty much upside down. Okay. So I had to fight through it and get all this work done. And I could have lost everything. Like I really had to fund all those projects to get everything done. I actually had to sell a house in Clarence I was building to sell it, to just make sure everything was going to go okay, to protect my family. Yeah.
So you were working for free.
Pretty much. Yeah. So that was
for holding up your reputation.
Correct.
Right?
And that was my biggest struggle. Like too soon, too quick, or just overextended myself. And then I just grinded through it.
How long a period of time when you decided to go on your own you went too fast? How long was that when that happened?
Probably right away, because that's how I move, unfortunately. Sometimes I have the best of both worlds like that. My work ethic's impeccable, but sometimes I just got to take a step back, relax, and think about it and look at things a little differently. So
I think one of the things with being an entrepreneur, right, and going out on your own, I mean, it's the ups and downs.
Yeah, the ebbs and flows.
Yeah. And I mean, there's some years where like, I can't do anything wrong, right? And then you get on your high horse and you're like, you start investing and doing some other things, and then you're like, oh, that was a bad deal, right? Like,
correct.
But I think what you said before is like, when things went sideways, you made it right and you did whatever you needed to do.
Whatever it takes.
Yeah.
I mean, and that's what an entrepreneur does too. We lose sleep. You're worrying about payroll. You're worrying about everybody else. It's not only my family. Yes, that's number one to me, but I got to worry about 50 families.
Yeah. Right.
And that's the number one thing. And when you're an entrepreneur, you put them first. Sometimes you don't take a check.
Yeah. Well, that's when I go into an investment, right? Like whether it's, a real estate investment, I go in knowing that there's a real possibility that I'm not going to make any money, but there's also a real possibility that I'm going to make a lot of money.
Exactly.
And I am completely fine with both. Does it suck when I break even and I've worked for free for the last 6 months? Absolutely. Do I make it a habit? Nope. But like you said, whatever it takes to get the deal done.
Yeah. So whatever it takes mentality, being an entrepreneur.
Yeah. I mean, if you don't have that, you can't work for yourself.
I like being uncomfortable.
Yeah.
I know it sounds different, but I have to be uncomfortable to be at my best.
I will agree with that. I think some of the best and most money I've ever made was when my back was against the wall or my balls were in a vice grip, right?
Right. There's nothing
On
like
the
it.
verge of
There really isn't.
that comfort. And I don't know who said it, but being comfortable just breeds like laziness and being content with where things are. And I catch myself pretty often like, all right, like things are good. I'm going to take today off. I'm going to go fishing, or I'm going away this weekend. And, you get into, you get out of a routine sometimes and you're like, I'm good. Right.
Yeah.
And that's not good.
Yeah, exactly.
So you went too fast.
I guess too fast.
To scale back.
Correct.
So how did you change courses at that point?
I just kind of went back to, I guess I looked at my older company, what worked, where I was making really good money. So I just scaled back and said, hey, I'm going to stick with masonry, stick with one good thing, get really good at it, build a team, and that's what I did. So you scaled back, built a huge team. I'm fortunate enough to have a great team. I mean, I can't do this without my team.
Sure.
I love the sales. I could sell anything, right?
Yeah.
But if we can't do the work, do it safely, and get paid, there's no Galbo Group. There's nothing. Especially my office staff too. Like it's impeccable right now. It really is. Like I'm so fortunate. That's what's making me go and got into other things in different streams of income,
Right.
like the development, the real estate. I'm allowed to do that because of my team.
Right. That's it. All day we talk about customer service and doing what's right for your clients, and for you to go back and look at what worked. And it sounds like even starting from just the quality of the work, like you can't sacrifice that to start doing too much stuff, right?
You can't.
That has to be so perfect. And when that's running perfectly, then you can continue to expand and go into other.
Exactly. And guys, it's the communication and it's the response to our clients. Like nothing ever goes perfect. Sometimes it does, and that's a great job. But in construction, there's things that go wrong, and it's your response time.
Right.
And if you respond quickly to the clients, they're going to keep coming back because you know you're going to fix it to make it right.
Sure.
Right.
Yeah, it's huge. It really is.
Sounds familiar.
Yeah.
So many of the conversations we have, right? Like we do a day full of podcast shoots, and from one guest to the next, when we're speaking to these entrepreneurs and other business owners, like if you're listening to multiple podcasts, you're going to hear a lot of the same information coming from
day to day.
construction to retail to sales to whatever industry you're in. Like we're hearing a lot of the same things, right? And us as entrepreneurs understand that.
Exactly.
But people, customers, clients, or just anybody that thinks that like, hey, I want to start my own business, they don't know. And you don't know what you know.
No, they don't.
Right.
That's why I'm glad you guys are doing this.
Yeah, and I think it's super cool to hear how another thing that we hear a lot is, hey, I'm specializing in something. I'm going to be the best at what I do and stay in my lane.
Correct. And that's what it is. It was staying in my lane. And now, fortunate enough, we got pretty good at staying in the lane. And now I can branch off into different things.
Right. Right.
So,
But I needed to do that first.
Yeah.
no, and you become successful in it, and then you branch out and start investing in other things. So what else is that? So the Galbo Group, you've got multiple businesses. Like, what are you investing in? You've got some development.
I have some residential units.
Okay.
And that's
That's
going,
fun.
that's going quite well for me. Oh, the tenants have been good. I've been very fortunate.
Yeah.
I really have. But then some other commercial properties also. And they're doing really good. I think I have a love for the commercial because I love seeing a business like mine be in my building
Right.
and helping them grow. There's nothing like
That's
it.
cool.
It's pretty cool. Yep. And, you know, when they call you to do something, it's vertical with the construction because I could do my own maintenance on the buildings.
Yeah.
And I'm not subcontracting to other subs. So it's vertical with
That's huge.
it's vertical with my construction company.
Yeah.
So it's really helped out tremendously because my guys only don't do masonry, but they do carpentry and other things. So if a tenant calls, I'm going, it's a quick response. Like I said, that's so important. So the tenants, if they're calling, it's a quick response. I don't have to wait a week for them to get out there for like another company.
Yeah. No, that makes so much sense. I have a client who has a concrete company, and whenever we sell like one of his investment properties, we'll go through it and be like, hey, the vinyl siding needs to be fixed here. You got to do this. He's got people, they're over there taking care of it already, you know, because they're on the crew doing the other stuff.
Yeah, it works.
Yeah, that makes a lot of sense. So you seem, even your energy when you walk in, you're just like ready to go. You're looking for deals. You're looking to continue to grow. Have you always been that way since you were a kid?
I think so, definitely. If it comes to, I'm always all in, I guess you could say. You know, if it's family from working out to anything, I'm always 100%. You know, not at 90. I have to be at 100%. I really do. I don't sleep much.
Do you, was there any moments early on in life that you looked at that made you like continue that path? Be like, yeah, I want to be like that person. Anyone that it particularly inspired you to be this way?
I think I've always been a little dreamer. You know, I've always been into movies, and I think that helped me along. It really did. Like, just, I don't know, a dreamer in a way that there's always more out there, no matter what, and you could do it. If you put your mind to it, honestly, and you do manifest this stuff, it does come true. It works. I mean, but you have to put the time in. I mean, it's a sun up to sundown thing. Like, it doesn't sleep. Like, my mind doesn't sleep because you're always at it. And I'm finding out if you're always at it, you're going to be successful and you're going to accomplish your goals. You really will. And sometimes the time frame is different. Like, I always want it sooner, but for some, it still happens. It just might be a little later.
Yeah.
Right.
I think our society is that instant gratification. Like,
Yeah.
boom, I need it now. I need it now. I need it now. And as you get older and, now, are you 40 yet?
Good for you. 43. Yeah.
I'm 42, but we've got some life experience behind us, right? We've had some ups and downs and we've had businesses, and just seeing the successes and the ebbs and flows, I now know that no matter what happens throughout the business and throughout your life, you're going to come out on the other side. Where before, when my first business started to fail, I thought that was it.
Kev, I was right there with you. I didn't know.
Yeah.
I know I'm going to work through this and I wasn't going to quit, but I didn't know what was on the other side. Just got to put your head down and go.
Yeah. And I, again, growing up from a blue collar family, I just, whenever I saw anybody that was rich, right, that had money, that had expensive things or sports cars or athletes, it's like, oh, they got lucky. They got something handed to them. And I think I probably talked about this before, where once you have a taste of success and you see the energy and the work and the dedication that goes into it, you're like, oh, all right, that was hard, but that wasn't that bad, right? Like, you just have to put your mind to it and grind.
Yes.
And you'll see the fruits of your labor.
Yeah, you really will.
That's awesome.
Yeah, failing, I think, is just one of the best things that can happen to anybody.
I'm glad you said that. It really is. Yeah.
When I lost my business at 35, had no idea what I was going to do. I look back now, and being 6-7 years into real estate, I'm like, thank God that happened to me, because I've never been more successful. I've never made more money, and I've never enjoyed my life more than where I sit over the last few years and where I am today.
That's great.
And had I not had some failure and had some difficulties, this would have never happened.
Exactly. My big failure too, it set me up from where I am now. And I've made mistakes along the way, but not as big. Just don't keep making them.
But that's but I think that it puts that mindset in play. Like, if you said the first time you went through that, you didn't know what was on the other end. Now, when there's little hiccups, you're going to just get through it because you've been through way worse before.
Exactly. Yeah.
That's where I think it's just so important. And until someone goes through that, but it could be with anything in life, right? Like, I think about when I was like a teenager, going through your first breakup, and you thought like, that's it.
Yep. That's it. There's not another girl for me. Come on. Exactly.
Now you look back and you think, oh my God, I'm such a little bitch. Like, what was wrong with me? And that's literally everything in life.
We've all been there. So how many employees are you working with now?
Probably up to 50.
Wow.
Yeah, at our peak, because we are seasonal. Well, right now we're about 50 employees.
Yeah.
With office and field personnel.
Are you just working in the Buffalo area, or,
just the Western New York area? I mean, we'll go to Rochester if the job's right, but really we've been fortunate enough just to stay in Buffalo because what they've been doing and obviously regrowing and developing, we've been able to stay here, which is good. A lot of opportunity. And it's great because it's easy to manage. It really is. If it's local, where everybody's local, our superintendents, it helps out tremendously.
So I've heard a lot of like obstacles and hurdles, and I understand it, right? Working on historic downtown buildings. Like, how has that been for your company and dealing with some of, whether it's permitting or the approval to work on some of these buildings that are historic, right?
It's actually been quite easy because the general contractors we work for the general contractors as a sub.
Okay.
So everything is really put into play already. We bid the job off of drawings or my relationship.
Okay.
And because I'm fortunate enough to have such a great team and the experience, I mean, they're like artists, my guys. Yeah. They really are. So from matching watercolors to washing the building with certain solutions, you need to know what you're doing.
Sure.
And they trust that. So we'll have to hand in submittals prior to using any product. And as long as that's approved, they'll let us keep moving forward.
So obviously when you have that many employees too, how you hired, who you hire is so important. So I don't know a ton about the masonry field, but being in residential real estate, when there's a chimney that needs pointing and someone needs an estimate, like, it doesn't seem like there's a lot of experts in the field of masonry. And so it's just always interesting to me that it seems like it's a very, niche field, that there's not a lot of people that really know what they're doing. So to then on the next part of that, to find the crew that really knows how they're doing, like, how did you find those people?
Been fortunate enough to, you could say Indeed, word of mouth, just really trying to get anybody in the door that wants to work construction, because we did a lot of training and teaching also. And we've been fortunate enough to get younger people in there to train, and that's given the longevity with the company. Because everyone's like, Tony, you're not having labor problems. You have pretty much the most guys as a private company in Western New York because we're not union.
Yeah.
And I said, I've been fortunate enough to hire young and train, and they've stuck with me.
Wow. That's because you said it. I mean, that's kind of rare to see. Like, you don't have labor problems, which every business that I hear.
I really don't. I mean, we could always use more, of course, because the market calls for it. It really does. And I could take on more work, but I am genuinely happy with what we have. I really am.
I mean, it just makes so much sense when you say it like that. It's like when the Bills draft somebody and that has all the right, talent, they can mold them to play how they want them to play, essentially.
Correct.
Same thing with you, I guess. Like, you're going after the young people. They don't have bad habits yet.
Exactly.
And you can train them the way that they need to be to work up to your standard.
And I believe it's all about treating them well, too.
Yeah.
It really is. In construction, too, it's not easy. It's not different than any other job. You still have to get up and you have to go. But some of the guys, I mean, we're hanging 100 feet in the air off a building.
I was going to say,
so they have to be safe.
Yeah.
And we give them nice gear, too. We give them, I guess you could say, the Galbo gear, and they like that. They represent very well. So it's good to treat them well. We do parties along the year, Christmas parties and so forth, and giveaways. And, we want to make them feel they're family to me. They really
I
are.
missed your party last weekend. Damn it.
It was a good one, too.
Oh, I called Mike the next day and I was like, "Did you go to Tony's party?" Yeah. I went. It's like,
Yeah, it was a good one.
we had burned up babysitters.
I get it.
Like,
that was adulting for us because we were fortunate enough to have a babysitter, too. We did one adult party. I have 3 little ones, so it's tough.
How do you manage that with all the things you're trying to do with being a father?
Honestly, that's the easy part.
Yeah?
Because of my wife. I mean, honestly, if it wasn't for her, I'd be in a ditch. Honestly, the support of my wife, that's the easy part. Everybody's like, how do you juggle? So when I go home, I don't take it home. And I know some people do. I could cut it off. Now, sometimes I'm quiet and so forth, and I got to get back into family mode.
Sure.
I'm far from perfect. But when you have the support that I don't have to run home because she knows what I'm doing and I'm focused on our goal and our dream for our boys, it works. It really does. It's amazing.
there's plenty of days where, coming off a holiday weekend, and I was gone for a couple days the previous week, where Tuesday and Wednesday, working all day, 10 o'clock at night, kids been in bed for 3 hours. But I knew that on Wednesday morning, I'd get up with her, get her out of bed, have coffee, kind of hang out. The flexibility that there's both sides of it. There's days where you don't see your family. And there's other days where hey, I'm staying home today, or I'm working from home the first half of the day, playing with my kid, taking her to the park, swim lessons, whatever it is. And that's the nice side about being an entrepreneur, is being able to have that flexibility and freedom. Listen, there's some Fridays where it's 12 o'clock, I'm done, right? I can do that because I'm bored. Yeah. But you don't see the plenty of years. And I didn't have a kid until I was 39, right? It was my first daughter. And I waited that long because I was building business, because I wanted to be comfortable. And I know there's never a right time to get married, to have kids, whatever those things are. But I feel super fortunate that I'm in a place where now that I do have a kid, that I can spend and take some of those extra.
And you have that flexibility. You're not missing a game. That's great.
And I'll tell you, my dad was a blue collar guy, and he got up before we got up, and he got home as we were going to bed 5-6 days a week. And I feel so bad because he passed away at 65 years old, right? From just a tough life, right? Blue collar life, didn't take care of himself. But I know the stuff that he missed with his 4 kids.
Sacrifice.
Yeah. But I'll tell you, on the weekends, he coached our baseball teams and our basketball teams and stuff like that. And again, forever grateful. But there was so much during the week just being at the job, right?
Correct.
You mentioned you can kind of turn it off when you're home and not take your work home with you. That where I struggle is flipping the switch both ways. Because for me, let's say there's a day where I'm going to take my kid and I'm going to have her half the day. I struggle on that other side. I don't want to go fucking show houses now. I don't want to you know what I mean?
Yeah.
So, but for you, was that something was always easy for you to shut it off, or did you have to work on okay, I'm home now, I got to be present?
It was always pretty easy, but I do need to do better with the phone. So being present is, I'm glad that you said that, because that is the most important thing. Because sometimes when you have that phone, you're not present. You're constantly looking at the email. I'm trying to put out a fire because it's, you know what? I love it.
Yeah.
I love my kids. I love the business too.
Yeah.
So it's like, like you said, it's that balance. But us as entrepreneurs, like it's, you know what? That's out the window sometimes, that balance. You have to do what you have to do.
I know crazy is like before I met my wife, I guess even the day that my first date with my wife, I put my phone down on the table and I said, hey, listen, like we start talking, like you're on your first date, you're getting to learn the other person. I said, hey, just so you know, like I own my own business. My phone is always on me. It's going to ring I'm telling you, it's going to ring during dinner. Like it's going to ring on Sunday morning. It's going to ring in the middle of the move, whatever. Like what you have to understand is that that's my business, that's my work, right? Like, and it's a 24-hour a day thing. And if you can't deal with that, I understand. But I'm just trying to warn you what you're getting into ahead of time, that like, and this is one of my greatest strengths and one of my greatest weaknesses is having
I have to agree.
glued to my hip, because this makes me so much money, but also costs me so much time in the middle of family time, in the middle of dinner, and in the middle of something that I need to be present with. Right?
Sometimes there'll be moments, because like you even if you flip the switch, like you're not turning it off though. You're just pushing it off to later.
Correct.
Then there's times like, I try to be really good, like like dinner time to bedtime, like I'm not working. But there's times like when something's pressing, someone's waiting for me.
There's a fire that you have to put out.
I'm not physically going to be able to be present at dinner until I fucking handle this.
Yeah.
Because it's just going to drive me fucking crazy. Because otherwise it's like, all right, I'm going to stop at those times. But that just means when everybody goes to bed, I know I have to stay up and do more work.
You're on that.
Yeah.
Exactly.
Like, and I'll tell you, there's those days where I'm just like, if I worked in corporate America at 5 o'clock, the fucking phone gets shut off and thrown it. You know what I mean? My work phone.
You can't do it.
And I know not everybody in corporate America does that, right? But what I wouldn't give some days, just dealing
Shut
with
it off.
bullshit, to just be like, it's not my problem, right?
Right.
And then I got back
to do that and just
and I'm like,
And it's getting better for me, as, like I said, my team is so good. So
they can just handle it.
They really do handle it. If it gets to me, it is kind of rare. It is, because they've handled it so well. Really.
Well, that's, I think, the biggest struggle people have with growing is finding the right people to work with. Like that's the most important asset, I think, to any company. So you've obviously done a really good job with that. Were you always good at like reading people and knowing
people in the way? They're my passion. Like I really enjoy liking people. I mean, construction's great. It's given me a great life, but the people around it, that comes over the construction. It really does. Because like I said, if it wasn't for the team, I wouldn't be here right now. And it's great. And for them to put out the fires, it allows me to grow. It allows me to be the visionary and see that big picture, why they're handling everything below me. So it's really good.
Did you have a mentor in your business at all? Like, how did you do this?
I didn't, actually. And you know what? I wish I did.
Mm-hmm.
I like podcasts like this. I'm always on Instagram and love the motivational stuff. I do, and it's helped me along the way. But there's really been, it's kind of figuring out as we go. And that's why I'm doing this here too, because if it can help anybody, it's great. It really is.
And I think one of the reasons, and we've discussed this, and I probably have told a lot of people this, starting the podcast, like I don't want to be a podcaster, but I'll tell you, one of my favorite things is just talking business and networking and understanding how you got here and what was your path, and how you got here and what was your path, and the things that you went through. And like, whether you're in front of a microphone or just off air, like talking over a drink or a coffee, like we share the same experiences, and you use that knowledge, right? Like things that I know that you may not know, or you know that I don't know, and vice versa. I've learned so much by hanging out with and networking with and just learning from other business owners that are older than me, right? Like, because they've been through it, they've had the experiences. And in some of those situations, like I just shut my mouth and hang out, like, because I'm
Take it all in.
Yeah. I'm like, I feel so fortunate to be sitting at this table or golfing with these guys or out to drinks or on a boat or networking with people that are way more successful than I am, that have been through it, and understanding if I have a problem, hey, how did you handle this? What did you do?
Yeah.
Because when you're an entrepreneur, like those decisions that you make, nobody's there to say, hey, the owner of the company, you did a good job today, right? Do I have money in my bank account at the end of the day, at the end of the week, at the end of the year? That's the reward that you get.
Exactly.
You know?
Yeah, it can be lonely sometimes. There's comfort in knowing other people are going through the same things. And like you said, like for you to put yourself out here and talk about a failure growing too big and how you had to pivot to succeed after that. Because that's, some people, they don't do that. Like that's it. They're done, you know? But everyone is going to go through ups and downs, and there's comfort in knowing like, yeah, you're not unique, that you had it, that life sucks sometimes.
It
like,
does.
Like that
Breaks
just
the suck though, right?
That's just, yeah, exactly. That's how it goes. What would you say when you said you grew too fast? I just feel like that was something and you didn't brush over it, but like it was pretty heavy though. You're talking about you had to sell a house that you were in the process of building.
I did.
Just to keep the jobs going, to keep your word
Correct.
to people.
Yeah.
That's a pretty heavy thing to say, that you went through that. But, and it's funny, you could see with your energy and your personality, like, hey, I had to do what I had to do, and we move forward from there. But that moment, I kind of want to focus on that. Like, what mentally were you really going through at that time?
I think it was hard and a lot of sleepless nights, but I didn't want to let my family down. And I think that was it. It was more my family, not people in Western New York, what they thought about me. I mean, if you're an entrepreneur, you can't worry about that because you won't move forward.
Hey, you're going to piss people off. You're going to,
unfortunately. Yeah. You really are. But it was more my family, looking at them and like, exactly like you said, how am I going to pivot? All right, take a step back. What are we going to do? So what happened is, like you said, I didn't brush over it. But so when you're a general contractor, I bid all this work, maybe $10 million worth of work. Okay. That's a lot being green. And I say green because it was new to me. Yes, I was familiar with the business, but maybe I didn't have the right people into place, because $10 million for a GC, it's not actually that much money. But for me, being newer, coming out of the subcontractor world, it was a big deal. So it was, you know what, just put my head down and let's get all this work done and do whatever it takes. And if it's my own money to get it done, I'll get out of this. So, and when you're in the GC world and when you're doing schoolwork and so forth, it's bonded. So that bond is connected to your wife, it's connected to the house, it's connected to everything. So I had no choice. I had contracts. There was no choice in the matter. I didn't have an option, I guess you could say. So my option was, I'm going to get through it.
Well, it's admirable that you didn't have an option because your word meant something to you.
Mm-hmm.
Like I when I first got into real estate almost 20 years ago, I'd seen more than once a contractor, whether he bit off more than they could chew, or they blew the money elsewhere for the jobs and fucked people. You know what I mean? Like left the jobs, took the money, couldn't finish the job, left, skipped town, whatever. And then the person who they're supposed to be doing this for, like, has to go pay somebody else to come in and clean up the job, and like
and they're out of money, double.
Yeah, right. That happens.
Exactly.
So like that's just such a, I don't know, to me that speaks to me, because I just went through seeing that when I was like 20 to 22 years old. I saw that with multiple people, because that was, when you look back now, it was 2006 to 2008. So the financial crisis was going on. And yeah, one house, I remember the house was half built and that was it. And that multiple times, that same scenario, house is built, it's paid for in a sense, and the contractor's gone. So that shit really happens. So to hear that you were almost in a situation like that, but didn't allow that to happen.
And I was fortunate enough to have that house that I could obviously sell it and then recover. Mm-hmm. So it worked out well. I honestly think it was a blessing to this day. Right. Like you said, that failure set me up for where I am at now. And I'm happy. I really am.
Well, I
can genuinely say I'm happy.
Said when you do things the right way, right, you may not see the outcome being favorable initially, but it comes around, right?
It does.
By you doing
I agree.
what you said you were going to do and following through.
And finishing it.
Because I'm sure there's probably relationships that you could have burned and screwed people over that you didn't, and those relationships follow you through the rest of your life.
And they have.
And you just
yeah.
never know.
By no means it was easy too.
No,
I mean, there was arguments. It was tough getting through it. It really was.
Well, business is not easy, and those conversations. I mean, when the conversations are tough, those are brutal. When you have to have those
They really are. But they make
tough
you grow.
conversations.
Like you said before, because then you're used to that. So that conversation that was tough a couple weeks ago, maybe one's not as tough and it's easier.
I have to remind myself all the time. Sometimes when I have to pick up the phone and have a hard conversation, I keep putting it off. Like, wait a minute. I'll tell myself, like, that pit in my stomach, that means that's the call I have to make right fucking now.
Yep, get it done.
And then I know
what it had on.
on the other side of it, you feel that much better.
Yeah.
I've had those where, man, I let them go for days and days and days. Fucking rubs my brain.
Yes, it does.
Yeah, you can't do that.
I'm going to get it before the weekend.
Yeah.
You know, let's just get it. Yes.
Yeah, that's the worst. So masonry really fascinates me. I had I sold a house a couple years ago where it was like a historic house in the Elmwood Village, and they had 4 chimneys. And like, so again, I don't have a lot of experience with that field at all, other than like chimney pointing and shit like that, or some cracks from like a lintel above a garage and someone's got to fix it, like just little stuff. So this house is 3 stories, and then it has these monster chimneys. And the bid that they got for the fix for the chimneys was like $40,000, which I'd never seen in residential anything like that. But the mason was explaining to me, like, the first couple weeks is just building like the scaffolding to be able to get out here to do this because it's so high up.
Correct. It's usually the access. So that plays a big part in our pricing because of the city and the houses being so close together. If you can't get a machine, well, it's a JLG machine, right? So it booms up to the chimney. So you could perform the work off of that. But if the access isn't there, you're going to have to build scaffolding. So that mason was right, and that could be a week or two just building scaffolding.
That's so
to get
crazy.
So that's where the labor is in for that.
People just think like you're just spreading a little mortar, and they don't know what's going on
Until they see the
I
price.
bet your insurances are real cheap every month, right?
Oh, it's pretty bad. It's pretty bad a year. It is. Well, we need it with the height.
Yeah.
I get it. I mean, we're with roofers. I mean, we're at the highest.
What are some of the like more dangerous situations that you or your workers have been in working on like a big job?
I'd probably say a swing stage when we're hanging off the building, not boomed up to the building, but when we're hanging off, similar to like a window washer. So if you're,
Do you ever get on those?
I have, yeah. And fortunately, I'm not afraid of heights, but I don't perform the work anymore. But a lot of the guys like it. Like we have certain guys.
You'd have to.
Yeah, exactly. We have certain guys for that because they do love it so much.
Dude, I see heights on TV and my knees ache. Like somebody standing too close to the edge of something, I get achy knees.
I took my kid to the trampoline park, Get Air, and I was crawling through the thing with her to go up to the top slide. And I was like,
You got
I
wild.
want to fucking be up here. No, that's crazy though. I just think, I don't know, that's just amazing to me. So how high are they going sometimes? I mean, like what's the highest?
For my boom lift, it's about a 120-foot boom lift. After that, then it's probably swing stage work. So they're 120 feet boomed up in a basket on the side of a building. And when it does get windy, I mean, the weather's got to be right too because it sways.
That's wild. I remember fresh out of high school, 2 weeks graduating high school, my buddy's brother-in-law owned a drywall company. And on the first week, they put me 3 stories up in a cathedral, hanging drywall upside down. And when it's 95 degrees in there because it's 80 degrees outside. And I'll never forget holding the drywall upside down on a board that's no bigger than this, hammering upside down.
Is that the day you quit?
It wasn't. I made it a year. But after a year, I said, I remember, and I've said this story on another podcast, I literally went into my dad's bedroom one morning and I was fucking crying. I said, I hate my life. Like, this is terrible. And when I tell you I enrolled in college,
Right away.
right after that. And that year of working drywall was one of the greatest experiences other than losing my business, right, and going into debt. I don't want to do drywall. I don't want to hang drywall.
But you have like found experience for the guys that do it. They really do. And that's what I find. When I jump into the field once in a great while or blue moon, you find out like what they really go through all day.
Well, it's so funny how it came back around 16 years, 18 years later when I got into real estate, right? I've seen a house built. I understand what's behind the walls. I understand how to put the walls in. So like, even though I didn't do it all, like I had sort of a head start just working in the industry. And man, the respect that I have for the people that do that shit, it's like, I don't want to do it anymore. Like, I mean, and when I first started flipping houses and renovating, I was doing the drywall and the painting and laying tile and all that shit. And it's just like, yeah.
I wish I can go back 100 years ago when a lot of these old houses were being built, because when we go into basements and I just see these stone foundations, I'm just floored by like the idea that these were all
sitting on those.
These were all laid by hand.
But how they got it there.
Yeah.
We always wonder, how did they get those stones there without the equipment? You know, pulley system, dragging it, 4 guys. Who knows?
I want to see, because so many houses were built around the same time. There must have been so many laborers. I just wish I could just see a snippet of like when North Buffalo was built or something. And just like how many people were doing that job at that time. And now like it's hard. Like you said, you have to find someone and train them how to do it, because it's a skill that, most people have no idea how to work with this.
And sometimes it's hard finding the material because they want to match it and you can't get it anymore. Like Medina red sandstone, it's so rare, and to put it back on the houses, it's hard. So we find stone and we actually dye it to maybe even match.
Oh, really?
So we could do stuff like that also, because this material doesn't exist anymore.
Oh, that's so fascinating. When I was in Medina recently and I was reading, they have it on like their main street there about the sandstone and how it was like all over the world. It's just so fascinating that right there that this stone existed, but it's so particular.
It is. It's beautiful stuff, but you can't find it.
Man.
So moving into the future, Galbo Group, what are the next 5 to 10 to 20 years? What's on the table for you? I know you're doing some developing and stuff like that. Why don't you just kind of explain where your company's going and what your goals are?
Okay. With the masonry, I want to stick where I'm at, actually.
Sure.
I'm pretty comfortable with, the 50 employees, where we at revenue-wise. I like it. I want to get better at it. I really do. Obviously, the margins could be better, stay where I'm at, but with the development and the real estate, that's where I would like to keep going vertical with it and grow that. I mean, that's pretty much the 5-year plan for right now.
Nice.
I got to ask you about that. That's such a nice jacket you got there.
Oh, thank you.
Where's that?
Appreciate it.
You're definitely Italian the way you dress and the energy you bring.
I'm half Polish, though, too. I want to. Yeah. Dad's Italian, mom's Polish.
We live in Buffalo. Everybody here is half Polish.
I'm not to give her props.
My mom's maiden name is Majewowski. Like,
okay, there you go.
Spell that.
Yeah.
Actually, I want to ask you another thing though. Like, you came in here. You have an energy. You obviously have a amazing work ethic. Is that something that was just natural? Did you see, like, did you have parents that like worked their ass off or anything like that? How did you see like that's the way to be?
I think I owe that to my dad.
Yeah.
I mean, me growing up, he always, like, blue collar, like I said.
Mm-hmm.
They own their own business, okay? But it's not all sunshine and rainbows, and you know that. So he always worked extra. So he was always doing side jobs to give us everything, and I think I seen that. So that was instilled in me in an early age. My grandfather also, I always worked. He was working at like 11 in their shop. I started off cleaning bathrooms, then moved into their shop, then driving truck, and then it was in the field at a very early age. And I think that really was instilled in me early. And then I took that to whatever I did, from sports to business now to being a father, anything. So I'm glad you asked that. Yeah, it definitely was instilled early.
Yeah, I just think it's one of those things you see. Like, I saw my father working all the time. And in one sense, I'd be like, I don't want to have to work all the time like that. But then sometimes I see myself doing it, and I know like that was just kind of instilled in me. Like, it wasn't somebody didn't sit me down and tell me that.
Yeah.
It was like, I just saw like, hey, he did whatever he had to do.
Exactly.
To get the job.
How long do you think it took you? Because me and my wife talk about that too, because we have 3 little boys and we both have great work ethics, and we know they're not going to understand that or really see it for a while. And we understand that, but it's going to be there till their late 20s or 30s to know what mom and dad did for them.
Yeah, it took me, so it's funny, my father is a real estate agent, so I got into it thinking it's going to be easy because he's successful, so business is just going to fall in my lap. It took me failing to really realize, like in my mid-20s, like, oh shit, like there's no substitute for hard work. Like, because you hear people say, when you hear all the things like work smarter, not harder, like there's truth to that. It's still not easy. There's no substitute for busting your ass, and you have to do that.
Correct.
So, like, it took me to like financially, like just like getting by for long enough that like I don't know exactly when, but like it hit me and I realized like, oh shit. Actually, you know what happened with me was sort of, I floated by for so long and failed for so long, but because I always put in the work to do what's right for my clients, the referrals started coming in. I started getting busier. And when your word means everything, you got to just do whatever you got to do to get it done. So then it was just like, as I started getting busier, I didn't really know how to handle it. And then I just realized like, oh, wow, like this is what my dad went through. Like, you got all these people that need your help. You got to fucking help them. And you got to find it however you can. You have to do that though. You can't just like, be late. Like there's some people in our business, because there isn't like, you don't have to clock in or anything like that. They don't leave the house until like noon. Like I can't operate that way. Like I got to get up and like get fucking moving, to get things done. But there was definitely like a learning curve where like, because I didn't need to work as a kid because my parents did such a good job providing, like I had to fail on my own to really get it. And then it's just there. You know what I mean? I don't think you can teach it.
So that's one thing. You talk about your kids, like your boys, like when do they get it or whatnot. One of the things, the conversations my wife and I have had is like, we both come from blue collar families, like, and we work our asses off. But now because of that, our kids are going to grow up with some privilege, right?
Correct.
And man, I rack myself every day, like just my brain, just from everything we do for her.
Yeah.
I don't want her to be soft, right? Like, and I want her to earn things. And then,
yes,
my mom comes over and every fucking day they go shopping. She's buying her a balloon and a stuffed animal. And I'm like,
right.
And again, I get that's what grandparents do, but also like, again, you got 3 boys, like they obviously see you work your ass off, but they also are going to benefit.
They are benefiting.
Right.
You're exactly right.
From the beautiful house to the good schools to the pool that you swim. Like, dude, I didn't swim in a pool, a real pool, until I was like 18 years old. Like, you know what I mean? Like, again, how do you deal with some of that? Like passing those values on to your kids?
Exactly. Just stay on them constantly.
Yeah, it's
like me and my wife, we have 3 boys. I mean, it gets crazy sometimes, but and we do get frustrated, but we look at each other, we're going to stay on them every day.
Yeah.
So, and you're going to fail sometimes, but just because you fail one day, you stay on them the next and they're going to end up okay.
Well, and you want to give your kids everything that you didn't have.
You didn't have, right? Life. I
agree. Then you also don't want them to turn into little assholes because they've never worked for anything.
That's what I say. I just don't want my kid to be an asshole. Yeah. I really do. I want him to be kind. You don't have to be the best at everything, but just be kind.
Yeah. But I think that, I mean, I guess we haven't raised our kid yet, so we'll see, right? But like,
we're in the process.
I think you gotta let them fail on their own to really like learn how to grind it out. I think it's just the only way to do it. You can't, right? You can't
always be a helicopter dad or mom. You can't always, even though I want to be, because you don't want to see them hurt. But you're right; they need to fail.
It's the same. Like when your kids are learning to like walk and crawl and climb and stuff like that. Like, because I'm that helicopter dad, but then I started to see like the more I let her struggle, the more like she does fall on her own, and I'm not there to like just help her back up. She gets stronger and just does it. And the same thing mentally with people going through that stuff.
My daughter, over the last couple of weeks, she says, "Dada will save me." And bro, oh man, fucking melts your fucking heart. She was jumping on the couch. She's 2.5, right? She just loves to jump. And I'm laying there, she's jumping on me, and she goes to fall off, and I grab her leg, and I pull her back up, and she says, "Dada will save me." And I'm just like, yes, I will. So, man,
awesome. I nothing like it.
100%. But man, one of these times, you're going to hit the ground, and you're going to cry.
I just tossed my daughter around like a pro wrestler.
Yeah.
Just throw her around. She'll be, "Daddy, throw me." But then she's on her bed. I turn around. She launches herself off, just knowing I'm gonna catch her. But like, I might not catch her. You can't do
My
that.
kid is black and blue from head to toe because she is a brute. She has no fear.
It happens.
Like scrapes, and I love every second of it.
3 boys. Yeah,
Yeah.
we've seen some bumps.
Oh, I can only imagine. How old are your boys?
Age 6 and 5.
Oh, nice. My neighbor's got 4 boys, and his poor wife, I couldn't even imagine what the food bill is, but they're like one after another after another.
Yeah.
But they're such good kids. Well, you probably know do you know the O'Neills? Kevin O'Neill? Either way, we'll talk about it afterward.
Okay.
Anyways, I appreciate you being here.
Of course. Thanks
Why
for
don't you
having me.
plug your business, websites, phone numbers, email addresses? Just give an overview of your company one more time on the way out the door.
I'm Tony Galbo from Galbo Group. You can get a hold of us with commercial masonry or residential masonry. Look us up, galbogroup.com.
Are you guys on social media too?
Oh, yeah, Facebook, LinkedIn, Instagram.
Beautiful.
Awesome. All right.
Beautiful.
Well, thanks again for being here. And that is our latest episode of Let's Know Buffalo.
Great, thanks.